2022 is about to come to an end, and there won't be another Marvel movie for a few months. It's actually pretty close, it's in February, but obviously by then it'll already be 2023. There were 4 Marvel movies released this year, but next year will give us 5, which isn't a record breaker or anything. I mean, 2018 alone had 7 Marvel movies, but regardless, next year we'll have 3 MCU movies and 2 non-MCU movies, and a lot to look forward to for both. In this video, I'll be going over each one of these movies. I'll be going over who will appear in them, what we know about them, and also when they were originally going to come out, because much like next year's DC movies, and I mean like basically all of them, all of these movies were delayed at some point or another. With all that in mind, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and let's begin. The first Marvel movie of the year comes in the form of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is also the first movie in the MCU's Phase 5, and may very well be the first project in Phase 5 at all, as we don't know yet the release date of Secret Invasion, which it did get a trailer first before Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's only ever been listed so far as coming out in early 2023, so we don't know yet which will be the first project to kick off the phase. The movie's officially coming out on February 17th, 2023. Its initial release date was sometime in 2022. There wasn't an official date, but then it was given an official date with February 17th, 2023, and then it was delayed to July 28th, 2023, but then it was moved up again back to February 17th, 2023. The movie is going to be the conclusion to the Ant-Man trilogy, but the concept seems much larger in scale and in stakes compared to the first two, which is ironic considering the nature of the character and considering this movie will mostly take place in the quantum realm. This will definitely be the 2024 Marvel movie and maybe the Phase 5 Marvel movie that connects the most to the overall Multiverse saga. And definitely the biggest step that they've taken since Loki in the Kang story and the Kang setup, since a version of Kang will be the main villain of this movie. The movie will also introduce a new hero in Cassie Lang, who in the comics is Stinger, Ant-Girl, or Stature. She's had a lot of names, but I think Stinger is the one they're going with, just because it's her current name in the comics. Anyway, the trailer was released, it looks pretty good, the poster was released. I love those Ant-Man posters where they're tiny, you can't see anything, and while Ant-Man's new suit, I don't really like it very much. Aside from that, there's definitely a lot to be excited about for this movie. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is releasing on May 5th, 2022, and its original release date was May 1st, 2020, but was pushed back quite a bit, slightly because of COVID, but actually mostly because of the whole fiasco with the firing and then rehiring of James Gunn by Disney, which might have been the best thing that ever happened to DC. All that being said, Guardians Volume 3 is probably my most anticipated movie of 2023. I love the first 2 movies. James Gunn is currently 5 for 5 when it comes to his superhero adaptations, and that includes the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. The trailer was recently released and it looks fantastic. It'll explore Rocket's backstory, Adam Warlock will debut, and it seems like the High Evolutionary will be the main villain of the movie. A movie where it seems like a lot of beloved Guardians are going to die. You can tell from the concept of the movie, the way it's been talked about, and the emotional weight of the trailer that there will be tears shed in the theaters. The movie looks like it will be an emotional gut punch to the feels and hilarious at the same time, which James Gunn has proved 5 times already that he's better than any other director working in the comic book movie business at that particular job. Honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy will maybe go down as one of the best comic book movie trilogies of all time, which is so impressive considering basically nobody knew who these characters were less than 10 years ago. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a long-awaited sequel to the beloved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which came out like 4.5 years before this one. If the first movie is any indication, this might end up being the best comic book movie of the year. It is my second most anticipated comic book movie of the year, but it may very well end up being the best one. The first movie's artistic style, animation, music, and pure Spider-Man heart and soul was one thing, but this movie apparently takes it to another level. There's going to be multiple multiple more Spider-Men from alternate universes being introduced, like Spider-Woman, Spider-Punk, Japanese Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 2099, who appeared in the end credit scene of the last movie. And instead of those Spider-Men coming to Miles' world, this time Miles will go to their world, which is where the taking it to another level comes in terms of the animation, as each universe will have a different art style, which you saw a bit of in the trailer. This movie will release on June 2nd, 2023, but was originally going to come out on April 8th, 2022, before being delayed to October 7th, 2022, and then it was delayed again to June 2nd, 2023, and a sequel will come out just a year later. So there was a 4.5-year gap, and then a year gap for the third movie, which is called Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, which also may end up being one of the best superhero trilogies of all time. So there's a lot to be excited for. The Marvels is releasing on July 28th, 2023, but it was initially going to come out on November 11th, 2022, which is when Wakanda Forever eventually came out, and then it was delayed to February 17th, 2023, which is when Quantumania is eventually going to come out. Now, on July 28th, The Marvels, which is the sequel to Captain Marvel, obviously, but it's also connecting to so many other things that it might be the most interconnected movie of the MCU's fifth phase, and definitely the most interconnected movie of the next year, as there's the three main characters, which all come from different franchises. There's Captain Marvel, there's Monica Rambeau, who comes from WandaVision, and Ms. Marvel, who comes from Miss Marvel. It would also connect to Spider-Man Far From Home, through also connecting to Secret Invasion, and recent reports indicate that there will be some Multiverse saga elements involved as well. So the Marvels kinda connects to everything, and might kind of be the closest thing we get to an Avengers movie in phases 4 and 5, as not only does it connect to almost everything, it is also technically a team-up movie between characters who previously weren't a part of the same franchises. Although Maria Rambeau as a kid did appear in Captain Marvel, still she didn't become a superhero in the Captain Marvel franchise. There hasn't been a trailer released or a poster released, and we don't yet know the villain or the plot of the movie, but we do basically know how it starts, as Miss Marvel's end credit scene was basically just the beginning of the movie, or at least I'm assuming, as it showed Kamala and Carol switching places for some yet unknown reason. Now, all that being said, Captain Marvel was one of the worst movies of the Infinity Saga, Monica was maybe the worst part of WandaVision, and Miss Marvel was very forgettable, so I'm not exactly excited for this movie, but who knows, maybe it'll surprise me. The final Marvel movie of 2023 is also the only live-action one which isn't a part of the MCU. Sony's Spider-Man villain movies continue beyond Venom and Morbius, as Kraven gets his own movie, before ever being the villain of a Spider-Man movie, despite being one of his oldest villains. Out of all the Spider-Man villains, honestly Kraven is one of the ones who makes the most sense to get a solo movie, but it would have to be a one-off, and we all know that if this movie makes money, it will 100% get a sequel, and on top of that, like Venom, there would have to be some sort of Spider-Man related history, and the movie would need to be based off of Kraven's Last Hunt, told from Kraven's perspective. That being said, that's not where they seem to be going with this movie. I don't think Spider-Man's appearing at all, and Kraven, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, is described as a conservationist, protector of the natural world, and an animal lover. Bruh, have you seen his design? He literally wears a lion's head as a vest. He doesn't give a shit about animals. He goes after Spider-Man because hunting animals isn't a challenge anymore, so he goes after the most dangerous game, but he also goes beyond that since Spider-Man is no mere human. Kraven doesn't give a shit about life as a whole. He kills animals for fun. He'll kill people for sport. He's not a vegan. This is so backwards for the character, and honestly, this is easily my least anticipated movie of the year, because Sony's villains movies usually suck, and while I'm glad Kraven is finally getting his live-action due, I'm not interested in another mischaracterized Spider-Man villain movie that doesn't have Spider-Man, and they all need Spider-Man. None of them work without Spider-Man. In this video, I did talk a lot about which one of these movies I'm anticipating and which ones I'm not. You already know that Guardians of the Galaxy is my most anticipated movie of next year, but while writing I decided I might as well make an official anticipation list at the end. Not only can you already piece together my top 5 most anticipated movies of next year, or my top 5 Marvel movies, because I basically mentioned my level of anticipation for all of them, but also I didn't do the same thing for the DC video, so instead I'll just put them all together. These are the 13 DC and Marvel movies coming out next year, and ranked from least anticipated to most anticipated, just by me. If you haven't heard of some of these movies and they're in the DC video and you haven't seen that video, then go check them out. But from least anticipated to most is Ruby/Justice League, then Kraven the Hunter, then Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham, then Legion of Superheroes, then Justice League Warworld, then The Marvels, then Shazam: Fury of the Gods, then Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And in the top 5, The Flash, Blue Beetle, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You might notice that the animated movies from DC are a bit low. Honestly, that's just because there's a lot less to be excited about in those movies, and honestly, DC's animated movies have not been all that great recently anyway, so I'm a lot more excited for the live action content from next year. With all that out of the way, thanks for watching this video. If you haven't seen the other video, go check it out, and if you like this one, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe-a-ly dibble, and let me know which one of these movies you're most anticipating, and which ones you aren't. Thanks for watching, bye.